The following is a presentation of Learfield IMG College.
This is Duck Insider.
Give it to Verdell. He's got the first down and go! Duck fans start celebrating. Oregon is the 2019 Pac-12 champion. The 2020 Rose Bowl champion.
Richardson, another open three. Good! Duarte dribbles and slams with the right hand. For the third time in the last 5 years, the Ducks are Pac-12 champions. Outright champs.
Foley three. Good! Foley ball. Down Shelley. Three ball. Good! Regular season champions and now Pac-12 tournament champions.
Welcome to Duck Insider.
We're just getting started.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College. Presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Better banking, local solutions. Live from the Country Financial Studio, here's Joey Mack.
It's game week. I've never been so happy to say those words. It's game week. Everybody rejoice, and especially, though, this is going to make Scott nuts, and Mitchell Lee back in the radio studio. The reason that all of you are hearing me twice is because we have an echo. So, Scott, turn off radio program, and now it should be gone, I hope. If it's not, we're going to all live with it together. So this is actually really important, guys. Stanford is in town coming up on Saturday. We have a 4:30 kickoff. We have a 2:30 pregame. It's on ABC, 2:30 pregame on the Oregon Sports Network. And, man, guys, I got to just say over and over again, like, I am thrilled to be able to say it's game week. And we're going to hear from Oregon football head coach Mario Cristobal in just a moment. The organizational chart is out. We'll talk about that. We've also got some fan cutouts to tell you about, and we will preview this Stanford Cardinal team that, frankly, I have a lot of questions about this Stanford team, maybe more questions about this Stanford team than I've had about a Stanford team since as long as I've been doing this. That's kind of an interesting storyline, I think, that we don't have an idea of what this Stanford team is really going to look like. And they've certainly had some challenges. And Miles points out already the haircut is looming. Why do you think I'm so excited to say that it's game week? Those of you who haven't been with us, I did say on the air that I would get my haircut when we played a live Oregon sporting event. Not that I'm counting down or anything, but Saturday can't get here soon enough. Your Facebook comments and questions in just a little bit. So, the Washington State kickoff time will be determined on Sunday. Just get that out of the way, a little housekeeping. Now let's get into that organizational chart. So, there's a lot of oars. What that means, for those of you who haven't read depth charts and organizational charts in the past, that just means that the coaches are saying, all right, it could be this guy or this guy. Self-explanatory, right? Well, it starts at quarterback. Tyler Shuck or Anthony Brown, and then backed up by Jay Butterfield. The coach has been really happy with what Jay Butterfield has done in practice lately. So Tyler Shuck or Anthony Brown. Then at running back, it's going to be C.J. Verdell, followed by Travis Dye or Cyrus Abibi-Likio or Sean Dollars. Ducks noting that Sean Dollars is going to play. And the potential for 5 different tight ends to play for the Ducks with Hunter Kampmoyer, Cam McCormick, Spencer Webb, DJ Johnson, Patrick Herbert all listed. It's Hunter Kampmoyer or Cam McCormick or Spencer Webb, and then DJ Johnson or Patrick Herbert. I think you might see a lot of different tight ends out there for the Ducks this year. Micah Pittman listed as a starter at the Z wide receiver position, Jalen Redd at the H, and Johnny Johnson at the X, as the Ducks call it in their offense. Chris Hudson's going to back up Micah Pittman or Brian Addison. Josh Delgado backing up Jalen Redd, and Devin Williams backing up Johnny Johnson. You'll see all of those guys on the field, I think. The offensive line is an interesting one. Not a single position has a definitive starter because the Ducks are using all of these oars. Maybe the most intriguing is that George Moore and Stephen Jones are both listed as a starter or backup and vice versa at left tackle or right tackle. It's George Moore or Stephen Jones at left tackle and Stephen Jones or George Moore at right tackle. The Ducks have talked a lot about, and Alex Mirabal and Coach Cristobal have said this a number of times, that the Ducks are utilizing a routine of change and flexibility and trying to kind of expect the unexpected, if you will, along the offensive line. What I mean by that is they're having guys, some days they're going down with their left hand, other days they're flipping it around going down with their right hand. And what I mean by that is if you're obviously on the left side of the line, you're going to be down on one hand, right side of the line, you're down on the other hand, and vice versa. The Ducks are essentially saying on this organizational chart that all these guys can play all these different positions, and you're seeing it in the reflection on the depth chart. TJ Bass listed at left guard or Sam Putasi, Alex Forsythe or Ryan Walk at center. And then the guy they call Sala, Malasala Mavelaulu, is listed with Ryan Walk as his backup, all with oars. Also good news, Ryan Walk, he's on scholarship as of today. Mario Cristobal announced that. We'll have that full press conference with Coach Cristobal coming up for you in just a moment. Continuing with the organizational chart from the desk of Coach Cristobal released today, Kayvon Thibodeau, this is interesting. He's listed as a starter at defensive end. He's also listed as a starter at Sam linebacker. I'd love to tell you that they cloned Kayvon Thibodeau and that the Ducks now have two of him, but instead it's just going to be one of those years with a guy who's so versatile and a guy who just knows what he's doing that the Ducks are going to utilize him in a couple different situations. So Kayvon Thibodeau listed as the starter at DN, backed up by Brandon Dorless, Jordan Scott, and Popo at nose tackle. Austin Falliou, the defensive tackle, and then Brandon Dorless backing him up there as well. You're probably going to see Christian Williams and Keon Ware-Hudson along that defensive line this season too. Mace Funa listed as the starter at the stud position with Andrew Falliou and Adrian Jackson backing him up. And this is interesting at Mike linebacker. Drew Mathis, the senior who's really had a heck of a story, or Noah Sewell, a guy who comes from a pretty athletic family, doesn't he? So you might see, well, you will see the true freshman, Noah Sewell. Isaac Slade-Matauatia at the will linebacker, backed up by Justin Flo. And then, like I said, Kayvon Thibodeau at Sam. I think you're going to see Adrian Jackson, maybe Jackson LeDuc there a few times this year as well. Jamal Hill listed as the starter at nickel with Jordan Happel, the transfer from Boise State, and Bennett Williams, another transfer, backing him up. Mikael Wright at field cornerback, backed up by Dawood Davis, and Deommodore Lenoir at boundary cornerback, backed up by DJ James. No surprise there. Verone McKinley, the free safety, backed up by Jordan Happel, and the boundary safety is Nick Pickett, with Steve Stevens backing him up. A lot of depth and versatility with Happel, Williams, McKinley, Hill, guys that can all play nickel or field safety. And then the boundary safety spot, I think you feel pretty good with Nick Pickett and Steve Stevens. Finally, on special teams, no surprise to see Mikael Wright listed as the kick returner along with Dawood Davis. And then Camden Lewis is going to be handling kickoff duties and place kicker duties, according to the organizational chart today, with Tom Snee winning the job at punter. You're going to hear more from Coach Cristobal on that in just a moment. He did talk about the kicking game during his weekly press conference today. Punt returner, it's still a competition between Travis Dye, Micah Pittman, Chris Hudson, and Josh Delgado. Carson Battles listed as the long snapper, and in the words of Mike Jorgensen, hopefully that's the only time this season that we mention Carson Battles' name, because everything he does is just so perfect and smooth that you never mention the long snapper again. And Tom Snee will be the holder for the Ducks this year as well. There's your organizational chart from the desk of Coach Cristobal, released today. We're going to hear from the Oregon football head coach coming up in just a moment, so stick with us. The fan cutout deadline is tonight at 5 o'clock. That's right. If you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, the fan cutout deadline is tonight. There's already been some early additions to Autzen Stadium, including the dog section, and some fans that are already in there. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what these all look like. I'm honestly really, really excited to walk amongst the fans, because I'm going to do it. We're going to do it as part of our pregame show coming up this Saturday. We're totally going to talk to the fan cutouts. I feel like talking to the fan cutouts is going to be like when Jerry and I have to talk to the duck. Like, somewhere in our job description, it's like that we're the translator for the duck, because the duck obviously doesn't talk. Is that going to be part of the job description for the fan cutouts? I just have to think about what they would be saying. I don't know. So 5 o'clock tonight, if you missed it, if you're live with us in the 1 o'clock hour, you still have a little bit of time. Hey, take a look at this Stanford team with me real quick before we hear from Coach Cristobal. 4-8 last year. Odd. Stanford went 4-8. You just do not see that very often. Davis Mills back at quarterback, started 6 games last year. And Georgie really likes their top 3 wide receivers. Think about that. If Georgie likes their wide receivers, they probably are pretty darn good. But Stanford was 11th in rushing last year, and I don't really know what the run game is going to look like this year. I have more questions about this Stanford team than I've maybe had about any Stanford team since I started doing this. And a lot of roster turnover. 2 of their best players, left tackle Walker Little and cornerback Paulson Adebo, opted out of the season heading to the NFL draft. Remember, KJ Costello is now at Mississippi State starting for the Pirate, starting for Mike Leach. And Colby Parkinson, their star tight end, is now playing for the Seattle Seahawks. So a little bit of roster turnover there. And then Andrew Pritz, the team's leading tackler last season, he transferred, and starting defensive end Javon Swan and starting defensive tackle Michael Williams, who combined for 11 sacks, also entered the transfer portal. So they've had some roster turnover this year. It's a different-looking Stanford team, and they've even had problems with practicing down in their county and down at Stanford. So I'm really fascinated just to see what this team looks like this year. Coach Cristobal got asked about that, and we'll hear from him in just a moment. Also, the play-by-play voice of the Stanford Cardinals, Scott Reese, will join us on the show tomorrow, and we'll be asking him a lot of these questions. And Rob Mullins, I should say, will be with us on Thursday as part of Athletic Director Thursday, brought to you by Pepsi. That's coming up this week. A busy week. It's game week. A quick timeout. When we come back, we're going to hear from Coach Cristobal. He talked to the media for about 22 minutes. He just wrapped up his press conference as we went on the air at 1 o'clock. His full comments when we come back. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, live from the Country Financial Studio. And we're back after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
Don't go anywhere. Duck Insider continues after these messages on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Learfield IMG College.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they could be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Hello, it's me, the designer jeans in the back of your closet. What happened to us? I used to summer in the Hamptons, and now I'm stuck behind a pair of sweats. Okay, maybe I never really fit you right, but I got a lot more Sunday fun days left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Joey Mack welcoming you back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Inside the Country Financial Studio, well, we got to get to Coach Cristobal. I know that's what everybody wants to hear. You heard our preview, and I do have to answer one question real quick before we hear from Coach Cristobal. Tobias says, will the cutout have the fro or the new do? The cutout's going to be immortalized forever, unfortunately, on my cardboard cutout. Scott Phillips did his cardboard cutout while wearing a Stormtrooper helmet. I want everybody to be aware of that so that if you see it on TV, you're going to see that Scott Phillips had a Stormtrooper helmet, and then somehow we made his hat, his Oregon hat, actually fit on the Stormtrooper helmet, which I got to say, I don't think that it's actually It doesn't really count as a mask for public health guidelines, but it would be one of the coolest masks ever. I mean,
right. You'll recognize me in the stands.
That's right. So the cutout will have the. Unfortunately, it will be immortalized, and I think we're going to put the cardboard cutouts. We have a spot that I don't think you can actually see on any of our cameras. We have a spot above the door where it'll look like we're like coming out of the door, and we're going to keep the cardboard cutouts up here in the studio for, I hope, forever. And let's hope these are the only cardboard cutouts that we have. All right, can we all agree on that? Cool. All right, Coach Cristobal. Yeah, he talked to the media today. It's game week. Every Monday, Coach Cristobal is going to meet with the media, and that's a lot of times what we're going to have for you on the show on Monday. We didn't get a chance, as we usually do, to go through and edit out some of the pauses in the press conference to make it sound a little bit better for all of you listening, because he wrapped up just as we went on the air. So bear with us. You'll hear, in the industry, we call it raw. This is the raw press conference. Coach Cristobal meeting with the media just a little while ago to preview the game against Stanford.
We wrap our Monday practice, Tuesday style practice. Finally, game week is here. Very appreciative of that. And certainly the energy, the excitement out there, and the physicality was what we want for a Tuesday type of practice. So had a great day on Saturday as well, with not only a mock scrimmage but situational play between the ones and the twos, as well as ending practice with a great moment for a couple of guys that have put a lot of hard work into this program. A couple of guys that came in as walk-ons and were placed on scholarship for this season, and Nate Hukalani and Ryan Walk. And with that being said, open to questions.
James Krupia from the Oregonian. You guys can unmute yourselves today.
Mario at quarterback. How long can the competition continue in earnest, and how are the reps split today, and how will they be split tomorrow? Or Wednesday, excuse me.
We're continuing to split them up like we have been. And, at this point in time, and I know it's good, and I know it helps the media to have as much information as you can, but also when you play game one, opening game of the season, it doesn't there's no value to a team giving up every detail of what they're doing. So I respectfully just decline to give out information on who's starting at certain positions because we'd rather let the opponent figure that out. Quite honestly. So with that being said, and some of the stuff, already who's playing and who's serving in a backup role or reserve role, but that's going to be our philosophy with that up until game one.
Matt Preen, 247 Sports.
Yeah, I was going to ask Mario kind of along the lines of the offensive line. It just feels like there could be a lot of shuffling if injuries or COVID or, like you just said, not giving out any information. What do you just evaluate that depth chart right now?
Well, I like the fact I feel we're almost at 9. I think by the end of the week, we feel that we'll have 9 players that can start for us and play winning and championship football for us. So on the depth chart, you'll see a significant amount of oars, and those are there in a positive manner. And today, instead of alternating constantly, what we do is we take certain team periods and situational periods and work different guys in different combinations. In different sets in practice, and that really helps guys work with each other and gel. And it was a very successful day of practice with the offensive line, as well as the rest of the offense. So pretty impressed with that group.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
Injury / opt-out question, Mario. Anybody that we know is unavailable this week, and which other players might be, game time decisions we decide to later upon?
Yeah, nothing else has come up as of late. I know we'll reassess everything at the end of the day, and certainly at the end of the week. Tomorrow there's no practice. Tomorrow being a day off for the players, anything they do is voluntary. And then we're back at it Wednesday. Wednesday's a very physical practice as well. So our final injury report, as to what goes public, again, that's at the discretion of us here in the program. But there's nothing new to report in terms of our health going into the game.
Julian Minenson, KZI.
Mario, how much of last year's game do you watch from a film perspective, especially considering the turnover on both sides for you guys and for Stanford? How much do you watch from a film perspective? Can you take anything from that?
It's always a good reference point, just of where you were. We watch every year we possibly can on an opponent that plays an offense similar to us, or if we've ever matched up personnel-wise, right? You want to see how maybe some of your freshmen did against their freshmen, and now these guys are juniors and seniors. So It is a point of reference schematically. There's some carryover, but they've had an entire offseason to study us as we've had to study them. We've had to change at the coordinator position on offense. So it's a normal part of game planning. It is. And we'll certainly use it. But in terms of our game plan leaning on that specifically, we're very different than we were a year ago.
Kevin Wade, 247 Sports.
Hey, Mario. The depth chart list came on Thibodeau at both defensive end and Sam. How has he been working at both of those positions over the past few weeks?
Well, he's a pretty versatile guy. He has a very firm grasp and understanding of our defense. We've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to develop a lot of guys on defense, so our depth has increased, and we want to get a lot of guys on the field. His understanding and knowledge allows that flexibility. He has excelled at both, and anything we could do to maximize production on defense, we're going to do. So he's done that, and we have, again, throughout our camp, which is not a normal camp, he's had plenty of reps at both of them, so we expect him to do really well at both
Ryan Thorburn, the register guard.
Mario, last year Stanford struggled, which was uncharacteristic for David Shaw. He's had a lot of success there. They've had some opt-outs. It took them a while to get cleared for practice. What do you know about them? What are you expecting from Stanford in 2020?
Well, I mean, they're always going to be one of the more talented teams in the conference and in the country, and we know that. They recruit at a high level. Their receivers are outstanding. They're extremely physical up front on both sides of the ball. You watch their offensive line last year. They had some young guys, but, I mean, there were so many games in conference where they physically took over games, and they're going to take the air out of the ball when they can, right? I mean, I think our game against them, we had 50, 55 offensive snaps. Their tight ends are always going to be big physical guys that are playmakers. Their quarterback last year, I believe he had over, 1,800 yards in the amount of play that he had, and his touchdown interception ratio was fantastic. This guy's a really good player that could do with his arms, with his feet. You look at their secondary, they lost a great player, but what they returned, just watching the way that they tackle, the way they cover, their length, their athleticism, I mean, it's a typical Stanford team. They have great coaches. Coach Shaw's done a great job with that program for a long, long time. So we're expecting their very best, and we're looking forward to this opportunity on Saturday.
Warren Williamson, Oregon Duck Football News.
Are you on your two deep? When you went too deep, you got
Warren, we can't hear you. We're going to move on to the next person. You're breaking up. A.J. Jacobson, Rivals.
Coach, I see that you have Jamal Hill in there at nickel, and it seems like the emergence of Jamal has allowed you to shuffle some other guys, like have Verone at free safety because of that. Talk about his emergence and what it's meant to that secondary.
Jamal's a really physical, explosive guy. He's when you're recruiting guys like that, you look at him like size, speed guys. He's 6'1", maybe a little bit more. I'm not sure. I think we list him at 6 feet, but that's off. I mean, he is a 210-pound guy that can run and strike and cover. He's got great hips. He's got great length, catch-up speed, closing speed, great instincts, great ball skills, very versatile player. You're going to see Jamal play a lot of things before he leaves Oregon. He's a really good one. But because of his emergence, you mentioned Verone. Verone has really been a productive guy for us, and he's emerging more, as a leader, and his flexibility allows for other guys to get on the field. And, we've talked about Pickett and Stevens and some of these other guys, Jordan Happel getting here, and I don't want to miss anybody, but we just feel like we have a good amount of the right kind of depth there. Guys that are knowledgeable, that have flexibility and versatility, allows Coach Avalos to call and dial up some things that, that he has confidence in to keep offenses off balance. So, again, credit to Jamal and his coaches because they've done a great job preparing him for this season.
James Crapia.
Mario, going back to the O-line, not asking you to give anything away. I don't think anything on the depth chart is too surprising, but what is the determining factor? What will be the factor that determines between Ryan, Saleh, and George if there's three guys for two spots, and how much of that is contingent on Steven, who we heard was out but is now back at practice? Like, what are the factors that play into who ultimately does start in those spots?
Well, Steven's not out. Steven's practicing, and he's all those guys are practicing with the ones. For us, the offensive line will always be that. I know a lot of people talk about the five best players independently, and our philosophy is the 5 players that play collectively the best together as one. And every single combination we have put together with a starting 5 has proven to be capable of being the guys that take that first snap. But what's also shown up in practice and in camp is that these guys deserve, can, and will all play. So determining factors, you know how we do it. We grade it, we assess it, who can do certain things well, where are the deficiencies, if they have things that may not suit what we're doing offensively, and everything that in Joe Moorhead's offense, these guys can do and do it well. So we don't see any chinks or kinks in any of these guys playing any of these positions, and looking forward to watching them play.
Mario Cristobal, the Oregon football head coach. We've got more coming up with the head coach for the Ducks. Also, want to answer a question from Miles. I said that it didn't mention Dante Manning on the two deep, if you will, or on the organizational chart. He isn't on the two deep. It's Mikael Wright, Dawood Davis, and then Diamador Lenore, DJ James. But at the boundary cornerback spot, it's Lenore, James, and then Dante Manning. So that's where that highly touted freshman is, and I think you're going to see him. I think you're going to see him play. If not on defense, definitely on special teams. I could see that happening too. Because remember, every team goes through and does these organizational charts, but it's not like we get the 11 guys that are on the field for all the different special team scenarios, and a lot of times that's where players get their feet wet, for lack of a better phrase. We're going to hear more from Coach Cristobal. Stick with us. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union, back inside the Country Financial Studio right after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
As my family continued to grow, I realized I'd have to replace my beloved Jeep with something that has, well, more seats. I'm Jason Hines, Country Financial Rep and father of 7. Whether you're upgrading from your sporty ride with no room for a car seat or finally replacing your well-loved beater that still has a cassette player, you'll want the right protection for your new car. Work with a Country Financial Rep like me and get the protection you need at a price you can afford. Learn more at TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
All it takes is one drop to make a wave. One beat to inspire a track. One spark to get creativity flowing. With every drop, Life Water refreshes your mind and restores your body. Purified water, pH balanced with electrolytes for taste. Designed with original works of art on every bottle. Let us be your source of inspiration. Life Water, the feel-good water.
Duck Insider continues after this timeout on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union inside the Country Financial Studio. The Oregon Football Coaches Show, presented by Carl's Jr., coming up Wednesday, 7 o'clock. Join us, as Coach Cristobal will join us. Also going to chat with CJ Verdell. Should be a fun show. Our first Oregon Football Coaches Show of the season coming up across the Oregon Sports Network, and you can watch the show live via the Oregon Football social media channels at 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Catching up on a few of the YouTube comments as well. Nathan, the kickoff special from this past Saturday, thank you for asking, will be available on our podcast platforms after I upload it today. I'm going to do that after the show today. We've got that coming for you. Zach, the score for the game against USC, I don't know yet. Eugene asking, is Oregon going to start any of the 5 stars? There's potential that Noah Sewell will start. He's listed as an or, if you will, on the depth chart behind Drew Mathis. You might see Justin Flo as well, Dante Manning, we've talked about today. I think that you'll see some of those guys, and even, especially with Coach Avalos' defense, even if some of those guys don't start, you're going to see them in action for sure. Catching up on some of your comments and questions. We've got a lot of content coming this week. 2:30 pregame across the Oregon Sports Network. More info for an affiliate in your area or where to tune in actually internationally available on goducks.com/radio. And ABC will have the television broadcast starting at 4:30 coming up on Saturday. Let's continue hearing from head coach Mario Cristobal. More of his press conference from today previewing the matchup with Stanford.
This Tuesday style practice.
Mario, typically you guys have 3 non-conference games to kind of figure out where you are, and in this season you don't. And the margin of error is razor thin. Do you address that with the team of, hey, if we want to reach our goals of conference championship, making the playoff, you have to be at your best day one because of, there's no non-conference games for this league?
Well, I don't think it helps you to talk playoffs now. I don't. I think we think as a program that your daily approach to your craft, the way you practice, the way you study, getting up early, eating right, taking care of your body, learning your playbook, being a positive impact on your teammates, pushing hard in practice, eating well again, taking care of your body, and getting to bed early and doing well in school. Those are the things that we hammer. I mean, the Saturday is going to be a byproduct of everything leading up to it, right? Talent acquisition, development, the process that goes with it. So I don't believe in doing anything but preparing. I guess the best way to put it is that, like, talent and experience does not equal preparation. It still has to be about your preparation, right? You have what you have. You got the players you have. You know what they do well. You feel like you're getting a feel for the identity of the team, and everything is geared towards that next minute, right? That day, being where your feet are. And we feel that that's our secret sauce. We're not a very magical operation. We're hard work and toughness and those kind of things. I'm sorry to bore you with that answer, but it's we just don't we don't overextend ourselves. You start looking way down there, that's when you're going to catch one right on the chin. So we stay grounded.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
Mario, you've got George and Steven listed as oars at right and left tackle. I know you're not going to say who's going to start there, but what makes each of them good fits to those 2 spots?
They're just really good tackles. They've also played really well at guard. I don't mean to throw some more oars in there and confuse anybody, but they just versatile. The way we have a real unique way for developing and grooming offensive linemen. Techniques and fundamentals are something that there's so much overlap in the way it goes from position to position with some subtleties and then some dramatic differences, both. But, the base and the foundation and the core of O-line play is very similar. So these guys, when they get Coach Mirabal, they get a full dose of some high-level elite teaching. And I'm Coach Mirabal's GA. I just kind of help him out on the side, make sure those guys are right. But he does a great job, and what makes it work is that those players are completely in tune to what he's teaching and how he's teaching it.
Kevin Wade, 247 Sports.
Coach, a few of your assistants and some of the defensive players have talked about havoc rate. I was just curious how you guys measure that and what stats play into that rate.
To what? I'm sorry, I could not hear the
havoc.
question.
Some of your assistants have mentioned havoc rate on defense. How do you guys calculate that, and what goes into that?
No, it's a pretty intense meeting. Obviously they're always looking to force negative plays and turnovers and put the offense in situations where the percentages of conversion are very low. Situations that lead to sudden change in our favor, and sometimes points in our favor created and executed by the defense. So the formula is pretty extensive. I think for a longer press conference, I'll bring the formula sheet and hand those out, but they're really detailed about that. They start their meetings with the importance of the football, of execution, of eye discipline. So I guess, it sounds chaotic, obviously, with the terminology, but at the same time, I can't emphasize enough the amount of detail and discipline involved with the way they formulate, in detail what they want out of that.
Ryan Thorburn.
Mario, when we talked to you after the August 11th announcement that the season was postponed, you tried to stay upbeat and all that, but, it was probably tough. What's it like now to be preparing for a game for you and your players?
Incredible. We're very thankful. We're very grateful when you have something like this that all of a sudden it just stops. It's taken away, and for the right reasons, right? I mean, we're all going through something in the country right now, and we get it, but it's very difficult because you just identify with it at this time of year, like it consumes your entire existence, and all of a sudden, help me realize what a boring human being I actually am. But aside from that, glad to be back, really fired up to be back. Love the processes, the way that they're in full swing. There's there are no hiccups right now. It feels like we've been at it, and it needs to show on Saturday, right? All this stuff that we're doing needs to continue to accumulate and continue to boil and just continue to elevate so that come Saturday we're playing our best football.
AJ Jacobson.
Coaches, you kind of alluded to earlier, there's a lot of oars on the organizational chart, particularly on offense. There's just one on defense. There's a whole bunch of them on offense. What would you say that's an indication of the fact that there's so many oars sitting there at this point?
Yeah, the competition has really increased. There's some, part of it, there were more, and I don't want to say other positions were closed, but there was a lot more parity at certain positions, and guys have really taken it upon themselves to extend and push each other competitively to where they're making us, and this is a great thing, they're making us have difficult decisions to make, which is what you want. The last thing you want is to have a clear-cut choice and clear-cut separation that's so drastic that, something should happen that there's a huge drop-off at a certain position. So we see it as a positive, and we're excited about it.
James?
Mario, you mentioned Havoc rate for your defense. Going back to last year's game, they caused 7 tackles for loss on just 54 offensive plays. That was by far the best rate against you guys last year. Other than the fact that Casey Tuhill was there and he's not now, how do you go about addressing something where they were very stronger than anybody at creating negative plays against you guys?
Sure. Well, we dove into the RPO world, and we ran a lot of open edge runs, two-man surface runs, and sometimes they got into their base run, the odd tight front, brought corner fire to boundary runs, nickel fire to some of the stuff to the field. We got chased down from behind sometimes, and the wide zone stuff out of the pistol. There were things there that were avoidable, and some things they just did a really, really good job. I mean, they are extremely sound, extremely physical, and when they get in their 4-3 stuff, they're penetrators. When they're moving in their odd stuff, the same thing. They whip it around all over the place. So we got to do a better job blocking them and scheming them. And certainly when you have the opportunity to make plays, you have to make them, because, again, you just don't have many opportunities. A play count against them has been extremely low, maybe the lowest in the country over the last several years. So there are no wasted plays to be had on Saturday.
Mario Cristobal.
We haven't talked a lot about special teams, I think, this fall. Kind of talk about Tom and Camden and the camps that each of them had, and then you list 4 players as possibilities at punt returner, maybe the merits from all 4 of those guys.
No, it's great that you bring that up. I want to highlight, I don't want to jinx anybody, but, Tom he's been doing an unbelievable job. Really excited to watch him play some live ball. He's come a long way, been through a lot. Tremendous person, great teammate. I know the entire team is excited about him, and hats off to Race also. Race has made that punting position a battle. He really has. And and all 3 kickers, Cam is definitely our kicker right now. He leads. And today that we had another competition in the middle of practice, taking 4 shots apiece, the whole team circling them and getting after him, making a bunch of noise, trying to distract them. And him and actually Cattleman got a shot today, and Cattleman was excellent today. He was excellent on Saturday, and Beatty has been as well. So those guys have improved as much or more than anybody in the program over the past several months. Did a really good job. Fired up for those guys and proud of them for their work invested.
Matt Preem.
Happel's listed at nickel and also at safety for you. Just what's the versatility you're expecting out of him this season? And it feels like a pretty significant addition so late in the, I guess, off season.
Yeah, well, the good part is no training wheels for him, right? He understood the terminology right away and just walked in the door. He's making He's making his calls on the back end. And then from a culture standpoint, tremendous amount of respect for the program over there that he came from. And I'm sure there's similarities in the way that we do things and the standards that we hold our guys to. So he's been a great addition in every sense. Very fortunate to have him here with us.
We got time for two more. Let's go with A.J. Jacobson.
Coach, normally Stanford under Coach Shaw has been an offense that really packs guys tight into the formation, big bodies. This year it looks like they've got a quarterback that can really throw the ball too. What are you expecting out of that Stanford offense on Saturday?
Everything, quite honestly, because you sum them up right there just perfectly. They do have a great quarterback that can make all the throws. And their wide receivers, they're about as good as we'll face this year and have faced in the past. And they have experience. And they're big, they're explosive, and they're fast. And this is a really good offensive line. And big, physical tight ends. They multiple tight end sets, extra tackles in there, unbalanced formations, downhill gap schemes, counter schemes, two-back power, two tight end, two-back power, play action passes, and they'll spread you out and chuck it all over the place, and the quarterback could run. So their package is pretty extensive, and their personnel gives them a lot of flexibility, and maybe more flexibility than they have in years past. So there's a lot to prepare for. They have a lot of good athletes at these positions as well. So our defense, I know, is preparing as best they can because they know this is going to be a great opportunity.
Last question to James.
Mario, you mentioned watching a lot of other games. I was curious, do you watch each week Steve Shaw's rules videos and breakdowns, and if anything stood out, because whether it was the Auburn botch snap or the kick return, I think it was by Bama against Tennessee, that was really pretty brilliant with the illegal touch out of bounds to force a kick out of bounds. Anything that stuck out among some of those videos and takeaways that really kind of boil down more than just watching games ad nauseum, really specific plays that come up?
A lot of stuff has come up now in a short amount of time. And we do get those videos and we get those CAI reports as well. And you read through them and it's almost like, taking a test before the test. But I mean, the subtleties of making sure you don't line up on the snapper, right? You can't have your shoulder tips touching his shoulder tips, or all of a sudden a 4th and 1 missed field goal ends up being a first down for the offense. If you break that rule, and then some of the things involving substitution and the ability to substitute at a certain pace, or, holding that other side of the ball to have to substitute at a certain pace. Those things there are some subtleties and some intricacies there that you can gain or lose an advantage if you're not in tune with the rules. So, but yeah, sure. It's very educational and very helpful, and certainly something we take a deep dive into all the time.
Coach Cristobal meeting with the media today. He wrapped up just before we went on the air at 1 o'clock here. That's his full press conference coming to you from upstairs in the Hatfield-Allen complex. Up next, we're going to switch gears, talk with a nutritionist and Holly Anderson. These have been fascinating conversations, getting to know the Fuel the Day team. More on that after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar presents an original that's now maybe even better. Mary had a little lamb.
Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar with the same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Same refreshing taste as the original, but with zero sugar. Mary had a bottle of Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. That's taste was as good as the original, maybe even better.
Mountain Dew Zero Sugar. As good as the original, maybe even better.
Duck Insider, your home for the latest news on Oregon athletics. This is the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go, fish, Dad!
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
We're back on Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. A couple weeks ago, we got a chance to sit down with every member of the Oregon nutrition staff. The next that we're going to feature is Holly Anderson, working with a number of sports, the latest addition, actually, to the Oregon nutrition staff. We won't get to our entire conversation today. We'll split it over the next 2 days. We had a great conversation, though, catching up and getting to know one of the people behind the nutrition department and, frankly, behind a lot of success at Oregon. Our conversation with Holly Anderson. Talking nutrition again, this time with Holly Anderson, our junior sports dietitian here at Oregon. We've taken you inside the nutrition department, and Holly is actually going to be the last one that we talk with. So if I could use, Holly, a baseball, softball analogy, you're actually the cleanup hitter. So as the cleanup hitter, you're going to have to be sure to hit a grand slam and just have the best interview of any of your coworkers. Is that fair? Is that too much pressure?
I'll do my best.
All right, I'll take it.
Scrappy. Some have called me Scrappy in the past.
All right, I'll take it. Scrappy is good. Hey, so one thing that we always do on the show, and I was glad to hear before we started recording that you haven't heard that we do this, so this will be even more fun for us and for you, I promise. Everybody who comes on the show for their first time has to tell their 2-minute life story. And I am timing you. So the 2-minute life story of Holly Anderson.
Wow, this is my elevator speech. Okay. Well, I'm born and raised Eugene, Oregon. I'm a local. I went to Sheldon High School, played sports, soccer, basketball. I then decided it was time to get out of Eugene, so I went 45 minutes up the road. Go Beavs!
Oh, no.
So let's see. I was a pre-med, so I was med school track all the way through undergrad. And then after that, I was like, okay, time to get out of the Willamette Valley. So I randomly moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and I nannied and kind of like figured out where I was going. I thought I was going med school and did a little soul searching and landed on nutrition. So I was there for a couple years, and then I moved to Seattle and did my grad program at UW. Never really adopted the dogs, so you don't have to worry about that.
That's good.
And then I worked in Seattle for a couple years, and then I came back here. So full circle, kill a little more time. I am back living with my parents at the moment, so that's really full circle. I have 2 brothers. One of them went to U of O, one went to Oregon State. What else? Am I missing anything? I love to travel, love to drink coffee.
Good.
Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That was pretty good. That was a minute 39. So that was actually pretty darn good. So, I knew that we would have to bring up the fact that you went to some rival schools. No judgment. You grew up in Eugene. You're back working for the U of O now. I mean, so the way that I look at it, Holly, in the end, you settled on the right side of all the rivalries. Is that how
100%.
You feel now?
100%. And the thing is, this is a testament to, I think, the Oregon community. Being born and raised here, all there is to do is go to Oregon athletic events. So I went to all the games. I mean, all the sports, all the bowl games, both the national championships. So like, I never really stopped being a Duck, even while I was at Oregon State. So my Go Beavs was kind of actually fake.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, so I'm a Duck through and through.
All right, so I'm curious, before we talk a little bit more about your career, and I knew that this was going to come up, and since you just brought it up, I'm going with it. How do you feel about the phrase platypus?
I don't resonate with it.
Okay.
Or it doesn't resonate with me. I don't really feel that way. Like, I think I'm like feeling like I'm going to be betraying my alma mater a little bit, but just like cute. The Beavs are cute, like,
I like it.
I don't really feel, I want them to do well, but I just don't feel like a lot of allegiance. I love Corvallis. Corvallis was an awesome place to go to school. Looking back, like, I think I could have had a great time at Oregon, but it was like, okay, I gotta like just do some big things. So again, I went 45 minutes up the road.
Holly Anderson, this is great. I love talking with you. Holly Anderson, junior sports dietitian, joining us. Hey, I think as Oregonians, a lot of people, there's a rivalry, but in the end, you want the state of Oregon to do well. I feel like that's you're an Oregonian. Is that the way that you kind of feel and a lot of your old friends feel?
Yeah, I think so for sure. I think it's funny though. Depends who you ask, because I went to school with a lot of like Portland people who are Beavs through and through, and maybe this is just a product of like where the two schools have been football wise over the past while. But I don't think that necessarily everyone feels that way. Mm-hmm. But I think for the most part, like maybe 80-20.
All right, I'll take it.
Oregon. Right? Especially now, especially given like everything that's going on in the world. Like, can we just come together a little bit here?
I'm in. Yes, that is 100%. I'm with you on that front. Holly Anderson joining us. Okay, so to zero back in on nutrition, and thank you for indulging me and letting me have a little bit of fun with you. I very much appreciate that. So you're in charge of fueling women's basketball, softball, indoor volleyball, and the beach volleyball teams. And you started in February of 2020. How many weeks, or maybe even how many days, were you in the office after you started before all of this happened and we've all been working from home since mid-March?
Yeah, I think it was like 6 weeks. And it was kind of a funny like flip, because I got women's basketball was like full on. I was at, I think my first game, maybe my first or second game, like being there, was when they sealed the conference title. Mm-hmm. And it was like, it was such a special moment. And like, I just remember like in that moment being like, this is so fun. Like, I'm so excited to be here. Like, I can't wait to feel like, more a part of the team and like more ownership and all that. And so that was a really cool moment. And then it was like, I don't know, a week later, that the girls were supposed to be heading out for the tournament and everything just shut down.
How about that? So we're going to continue our conversation with Holly Anderson tomorrow, junior sports dietitian. Started at Oregon right before all of this happened and the entire world changed. It's just been wild. We're going to have part 2 of our conversation with her coming up tomorrow, so join us then on Duck Insider. Wrapping things up with some products updates and a few other things from Oregon football after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
After 2 years of construction, my wife and I finally moved into our dream home. So when a bathtub fixture broke, causing major water damage, I was glad we had the home insurance protection we needed. How do you know your home is protected? Talk to a Country Financial rep like me, Nick Simon. We can help you understand your options and select coverages to meet your needs. Then if something happens to your home, you won't have any surprises. Need the right coverage for your home but not sure where to start? Visit TakeSimpleSteps.com or contact a local Country representative.
From the weight room to the classroom, on the field and off it, On Point proudly supports University of Oregon athletics because student athletes do so much more than bring us pride on game day. They bring our entire community together in Eugene and all across Oregon. So whether you're watching the game in the stadium, at home, or at your favorite local business, their success makes all of us stronger. On Point Community Credit Union. Join in. OnPointCU.com. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
This is Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through. Like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your child listen. Jen, I friended your boyfriend.
Wait, what?
Buckle up, sweetie.
Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Joey Mack back inside the Country Financial Studio. It's Duck Insider, presented by On Point Community Credit Union. Thanks to everybody for joining us today. A lot to get to with head coach Mario Cristobal and your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. The organizational chart has been released. You can find it on GoDucks.com. The entire offensive line and the quarterback position and a lot of other positions actually along the offense with oars. And Coach Cristobal said today that's because the competition has been really, really good, and the Ducks are happy about that. There's also, look, there's a little bit of gamesmanship there too, right? We know that. Stanford, they got to prep for two quarterbacks now. One guy that they have some film on at Boston College, another guy they just have a little bit of film on from his time here at Oregon backing up Justin Herbert. Tyler Shuck and Anthony Brown both, I think, though, could quarterback this team and do it pretty well. That, though, I think was the biggest update today. The Ducks are pretty darn excited about the depth of this team. That's your 2-minute drill brought to you by Cafe Yum. Before we wrap it up, I got to tell you, Justin Herbert, man, look, Chargers are blowing leads. It sucks. We all know it. But Justin Herbert is the first player in NFL history with 15 passing touchdowns and 1,500 passing yards in his first 6 career games. That's crazy. So Justin Herbert, keep it up. And that's how we end today with your Cafe Yum 2-minute drill. CafeYum.com. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. A lot more football to talk about.
Whoa, long time no see. It's me, the Rock t-shirt in the back of your closet. Dude, remember? You crowd surfed in me, man. But you haven't worn me in like forever. I get it, you're retired, but I still got some rock left in me. So take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff, create jobs.